All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and begin. Christian, how can we help you today? Does anyone have any questions they want to start with today, or am I muted? I'm good. No, I'm good.
For me.
Hello.
Oh, hello. I was just confused on the exercises.
Sure.
Not like how to do them, but what to do. Because like in section or in chapter 3 of the book, like at the very end, but it sounds like we have to pull data from somewhere. But I'm like, where do we pull this data from? Or do we
Okay.
create the data? Like I was just confused. Like how to even go about doing
That
it.
is
You know
a
what I mean?
fair question. So let me get the assignment open, and then we can walk through some of that. I think once I tell you where to find the data, it was in the PowerPoint slides where to find the data. Let's see when the exercise is, right? Okay.
Maybe I didn't write them that well.
Yeah, that's okay. So let me share my screen here. I'll just share it all here. Okay. Okay, so the first question is, write the SQL statement that retrieves the actor ID, first name, and last name for all actors. Sort the results by last name and by first name. That's what we're talking about, right? So the question is, where is that data? All right. Going into here, and we've got our Sakilla database, and in the Sakilla database is a table called actor, and that's where we find it. And you just write a select query based on that. So what we can do here is so here's a little cheat for those of you who are here tonight. Whenever you're writing a select query in a someone chatting here, I'm trying to figure it out. Okay. All right. So select actor ID. What do we want? Actor ID. First name and last name. First name, comma, last name from actor. And we want to order it by first name. Oh. And I forgot the cardinal one. Okay, and now, there you go. Nope, what did I do wrong? Oh. There. Did that help, Ivanero?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes,
can yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. In the PowerPoint slides, it talks about the Sakilla database. So going through them really helps in figuring out the assignment. So let's take a quick look at them, I guess. Modules. Bum, 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 bum. 2. Discussion and reading, preparation and reading. Okay. Okay, so in the video that this week I put a video there for you guys talking about the anatomy of a SQL query. And I want to, so here we got like, here are the main clauses that you're going to find in a select query. There's other things we'll learn later, like inner joins and joins and case statements and whatnot. For the phrase, like, this is a basic query statement. So with select, tells the go get this information. You're saying go get this information. From tells you what table it comes from. Where tells you what filters you want to take out of it, like where, in this case, where actors ID, we do like say where actors ID starts with an M or something. Group by and having by, group by and having, they're very specific. So are you familiar with the term aggregate?
I am not, no.
Okay, an aggregate function is any function that uses math. Okay, so let me give you an example of an aggregate function here. Okay, aggregate function, where did I see it? There we go here. Okay, so if I did here, select count from actor right here, the result is just a number, right? So that's considered an aggregate function. Let me see what else we could do here. Here, let's do last name. Yeah, here, this is a good example. We'll do last name count, okay? So if I just run, oh, that's not gonna work. If I run this, I'm gonna get just everyone's last name, right? So let's say I wanna know how many of each last name I have. So I add this here, count last name. Okay, if I try to run this, it's just gonna show me everything, right? Because I'm not saying to group anything by. I'm just saying give me a count of last name. Don't group anything. So here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, after it's here, so I'm gonna do group by last name. And then I'm gonna run this and see what happens there. Okay, so now it's getting last name, every last name, and how many instances of that last name exists there. Or by last name would make more sense. Okay, so there's 2 Jenners, 2 Denches, 2 Depths, 2 Durans, Dreyfus. Okay, if we use an aggregate function, anything like count, there's one called sum. I don't think we have anything with numbers in here. No, nothing really. Nothing with numbers. Okay, so anything like count, sum, average, anything like that is considered an aggregate function. When you have an aggregate function, you'd have a group by command, okay, that tells the select query what we're aggregating by. In this case, we're aggregating by last name. So when you write an aggregate selection like this, anything that is not aggregated, something like this, needs to be in the group by statement. So if I added here, like that, and try to run this, okay, it's going to give me Christian Ackroyd 3, but there's not 3 Christian Ackroyds, right? There's only one of them. So what I'd have to do is I'm going to add this first name group by here down to here, and then where'd it go? There it is. Okay. and then run this again. And now this makes more sense, right? There's only one Christian Ackroyd. If we don't have that group by, we're going to get the wrong results. So when we look at this, the group by command, so where filters out and run data, group by, groups rows together by a common value, whatever we're aggregating, and then having is another way to say where, but we can do it a little differently. So like we'll go back to this one here, right? Okay, so we got this one, group by last name, we run it, and we get this. But let's say we just want anyone that has over three or more, right? So we can do having counts last name greater than or equal to 3. So now when we run this, we only get anything that's more than 3. So the group by and having have to do with aggregate commands. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. So Moises and Christian, does that make sense? Christian, can you hear me, Christian? Okay. Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Let's continue to go through the slides. Move you guys out of the way here. In order to understand select, we need to look at the from statement. Select indicates that all columns where the star and the from. Okay, so did any of you guys watch the supplemental video that I put up there this week? I put a video up there on the Monday announcement. Okay, that's fine. So I'll just talk about it here real quick. So when we're looking at a query like this, okay, let's see, let's get rid of you here. Okay, so let's look at this. Here's my query. Select first name, last name, count from actor, group by last name, having count last name greater than or equal to 3, order by last name. Which of these lines, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, do you think the SQL engine runs first?
Would it be the from?
Exactly, the from is what runs first. Because what it does, it gets all so the data exists on the hard drive, and anything that exists on the hard drive can't be manipulated, touched, or nothing can do it. It just sits there. It's like a bump on a log, right? In order to use it or massage it, it's got to come into RAM or active memory. So the from clause is the first thing that runs. So the SQL engine looks at this and says, okay, from actor. So what it does, it pulls all the information from actor into active memory. And then what do you think it looks at?
Select.
The select statement, correct. Then it says, okay, so there are actually, there's 4 rows here. We just want the 3, so it gets rid of that one. Keeps it in active memory in case we ask about it later, right? But it just doesn't. So then it says, okay, and look, it goes, hey, wait, we got to count here. So we got to make a row. We got to make a column. So the engine says, hey, we got the select series, we got this count, so let's make a new column. So actually, there are 5 columns in this table now, not just 4. And then it goes to the group by and says, okay, we're going to group us by last name. And we're going to then do the having. And then the last thing it does is the order by. Okay, so the actual order the query runs in, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there were a where clause in here, then it would go this, then this, then this, 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 and this. No last names that begin with an R. Okay. Okay. Make sense? Okay. So the select clause indicates the columns that are going to come through, and the from clause indicates what table. Now, there is, and you'll see me do it once in a while, but I'm only doing it because I'm trying to do things quickly. You should never write a select query that looks like this. That star means bring everything. So if I ran this, it would error because I don't have actor ID or last update here. But we don't want everything. So we just did here like this. It brings everything. You don't want to do that. You want to be very specific in your query rating. You want to say specific, even if you're bringing all of them out, write them all out. Because if someone's looking at your code trying to figure something out and they're not familiar with the table, it's important for them to see the specific columns. So it takes a little extra time, but I showed you can just do this. And any Management Studio, any Toad and Visual Studio and SQL Server Management Studio and PuTTY all do this, where you can just drag the column over into the query. Okay. Back right here. Okay. So permanent tables, derived tables, temporary tables, and virtual tables. A permanent table is that what's down. It exists. There's a structure that exists in the disk, and it's always there. Derived tables, I don't know if you'd actually do a derived table. Derived columns. Derived means that it's created on the fly based on some sort of aggregation or concatenation. And concatenation is to letters what aggregation is to numbers. Does that make sense? So your concatenation is just joining two strings. Like if I did this. And then I ran this like this. Oh, wait, did I want to do this? Hang on a second. Nope, okay. What is my aggregate function in MySQL? I'll get back to that in a second. Just so you know, Transact SQL is pretty much the same across the board, but some small things like aggregate, like how to do aggregates or concatenations rather, like in Microsoft SQL Server, it's that. In Oracle, it's that, and I can't remember what it is in MySQL at the moment because I've been writing.
I think it's concat.
Oh, is that what it is?
Parentheses.
There it is. Yep, you're right. Because everything's got to be just a little different. I personally like when it's just the plus sign. Okay, so we just need to put this here. Okay. So this is a concatenation, and this is an aggregation. Concatenation are text files or varchar or anything like that. Aggregations are anything integer or number based. All right, so derived tables are tables that are created on the fly. For example, if you want to make it, you had a sales database and you want to show how much inventory was sold, you do some sort of mathematical function, make a derived table. A temporary table is one that's made on the fly and exists only as long as this window is open. We close this window, it's gone. It's in case you need to massage data, pull like from two tables into one to make some changes. That's what a temporary table is. The final one is a virtual table or a view. And a view is a way to merge several tables together into one output that cannot be changed. You can't use insert, update, or delete on a view. To present data in a way to customers or people that they'll understand. And we'll get more into views in the coming weeks as we talk about joining tables together. Okay, so here we got a subquery. So now the from clause, the from clause isn't always a going to be a table. It can be a query. So you can just write a query and put in the from clause, and it will give you. So first, this will run, and it'll put it into a derived table, or rather a temporary table, and then this will run on that. Okay. This little thing here is important to note. Whenever you have any kind of subquery or something like this, and if you put a word or something outside the last parenthesis, that's referred to as an alias. Because you'll notice here that alias is existing in front of there and in front of there. Okay, that's so it knows to pull the information from this subquery. Okay, that will make more sense when we get to joins. So this is a derived table. This is a temporary table. We're going to create. It says create temporary table, and it gives it a name. And you're putting just like you're creating a regular table, and then you're inserting into it. So this is just like I said. You just want to quickly put a table there because you want to do some quick changes. Let's say you want to update a table and you want to change everyone's age by 10%. Like it's an inventory table. You want to change the price by 10%, but you want to see what it looks like first. So you drop all that information into a temp table, make the change, look at it. If you like it, you go ahead and do it in the real table. And this is what the result of the temporary table would look like. This is a view. We're going to create a view. Create view as customer view. Select customer ID from customer. Now, what we would do is with views, if our table is much wider and we don't want anyone seeing everything, we can give people permission to look at a view and give them specifically and exactly what they need to see. All right. And so we'd create this, and then they would just select from the view, and they would get that information. But they couldn't get anything else because in the customer table, there's more than just those columns. I'm going to give you guys a video next week about joins. But here we're talking about a join takes information from one and two or more tables and presents it in one view on the screen. So we've got a customer table and a rental table. The customer table and rental table have a column in common called customer ID. So we want to make sure these over here. No, that's not in this one here. Is that down here? Oh, wait, okay, there's no customer column. Yes, here's my customer column. We've got column customer ID. And here's my rental table. And we got a column customer ID. Now, do you guys remember from the lecture last week about foreign keys? Okay. So whenever you have a join, so they're calling this table links, but you have a join. So we're joining customer and rental on this customer ID column, and that customer ID column is the foreign key. Because if we looked over to here in the, let me see, rental table and looked under foreign keys, we have one here to customer. And if we script it out real quick, that's not what I wanted to do. This one is a foreign key that brings over to this column here. So because they're foreign keyed, we know it's going to be clean data. Don't save. Okay. You do not have to do a join on a foreign key. It could be anything. Okay. Just a foreign key is going to be more consistent and clean with the data because we know that anything in the one table has to be in the other table. All right. So we got inner join on customer ID where rental data is that. Okay. And that's the results that come out of that. Table aliasing, when we're doing joins, let me pull this into the query window here. And let me make it look more presentable. Okay. So we've got a couple different cases of aliasing here. We've got from customer C, inner join rental R, and up here we have C dot first name, C dot last name, R dot rental date. Now, because we're doing two different tables, we have to let the query know what table that column is in. And we do that by aliasing. If the column is not in multiple, if the column is not in multiple, the column that's missing. If the column is not in multiple tables, we don't necessarily put the alias there because first name doesn't exist in the rental table and last name doesn't exist in the rental table. So I don't necessarily have to tell the engine where the column is. It's only in the cases where the column is in both tables, like if I had customer ID here, I'd have to say which customer ID I was taken from, or I would get an error. Even though you don't necessarily have to, it's always best to alias the columns. That way, someone who's looking at your query knows where this stuff is coming from. Not only can you alias tables, but you can also alias columns. So let me show you this. If I did this, if I ran this, did I get an error? When, where clause, where, dates. Oh. Sometimes when you copy and paste over, the quotes don't, it's not the right ASCII quote. Run this here. Okay, there's the results. So here, the title of this column is that, and people don't want to see that. So I go back here and I can do and now when I run this, that says rental data on top of it. Okay. So we can alias the column names or we can alias the tables. We don't have to do this. If I took this away, it's fine. We still have this here, but we can just use the full name if we wanted to. That's a lot of typing. So we really want to use aliasing, but we could theoretically do that. Okay. Okay.
I had a question really quick.
Sure.
So you don't have to put AS to make an alias for the table? I mean, for the column?
No, you have to do as. No, you don't have to do as.
Okay.
Matter of fact, it's a very good question because depending on which engine you're using, if you put as there, it would cause an error. Like if you're using Microsoft SQL Server, you can put as there all day and it wouldn't be a problem. But if you do it in Oracle, put as there, it's going to say, why is as here? Because as is used somewhere else. But you don't have to put that there. So these table aliases, that's that. Keep in mind, table links, we're going to be talking those much more later. They're called joins, and there's several different kinds. We're not going to do deep dive in that tonight. This is just an introduction to it. Table aliases, and then the where clause, okay? The where clause is to filter things down. You can do a couple different things with where clauses. You can do where rating is G and rental duration is 7. So let's take a look at this one here real quick. Let me grab this last line so I don't have to type it out. Copy, bring it over here. Okay. Select title from, what was it? The film. Film would be better. And put that there. My quotes are good. Put a W there for where. That's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. Okay. So if we run this, this is going to show me where the rating is G, and the second criteria met is where rental duration is 7. So let me put these 2 columns up here so we can see this a little bit better. Okay. So if I run this, these are all going to be G and 7. Okay. My other choice here is or. If I run it this way, as long as it's one or the other, it'll show up. Okay. We have another option here. We can do, let's see what they talk about here before I just jump around. Okay, and or. So for an and operator, both must be true. Or operator, one value must be true, or there's not. So if I do, oops. So if I went here and did where rating, if I do where rating is G, I get all that, where rating not G, it gives me an error. Hang on a second. Do you like that better? Yeah. If I do exclamation point equal is not, so that's where it's not G. Okay, so it gives me everything but. Keep on here, okay. We talked about group by and having, where we have an aggregate here in the count, and then we're grouping by first name and last name like we did in the query I showed you, and having a count greater than 40. There's 1,000 ways to Sunday to do this, but that's just basically what we're looking at. So this is an aggregate function. Aggregate functions must have group by and having, or must have group by. It doesn't have to have having, but must have a group by. Having just helps you weed it out a little bit more. Okay. Order by clause just tells you what order to put things in. You can either do it specifically by name, or you can do it, so here, let's do this. Film, we'll do order by title. And we run it. It gives us our order. I can do here, I can do descending. And it gives me in reverse. Okay. I can also do by title and then rating. So now we got the title, and then we can just by the rating is organized. Why is that? Okay. We could do just by rating. Okay. The other thing I can do is that. I can do the cardinal, a number that relates to the column. I don't have to write the column out. You'll see a lot of people do that. You'll see like, order by 1, 2, by order by 2, 3. Okay. So here we're going to order by the rate, grade, and rating and duration. I I don't like doing that way because you have to, if you're looking at someone else's code, you have to try to remember which is which. So that's 2 ways to do the order by. And you've got, order by is pretty simple. It's just a column, and then whether it's ascending or descending. Okay, that's the end of the slides. So, like I said, this lesson is just about the anatomy of a select query. You know, how we select and just getting you guys to write some select queries. So let's go ahead and look at the questions. So I'm gonna do this here, okay? Nope, that's not what I wanted. That's not the one I wanted. Go to quiz. Okay. Let's preview. Okay. This is the one I wanted. I want the exercises. If you're gonna be, last semester we only had 1 quiz. Now we got like 3. Here we are. This is what we wanted. Boom. Okay. Preview this. Write a SQL statement that retrieves actor ID, first name, and last name for all the actors. Sort by last name and then first name. So we talk about that. So then write a SQL statement that retrieves actor ID, first name, and last name for all actors whose last name equals Williams or Davis. So you could do it 2 ways with that one. So you could do it where it's this, where last name equals Williams, or last name equals Davis. Does anyone else remember the other way to do it?
Can you put it in parentheses and say in?
Exactly. So you can do this. Good, Christian. Do that. Boom. Yeah. So, or you could do it that way. Both ways work. This way is a little cleaner because all of a sudden if you need to add another one, you know, it's pretty easy to add another one. Whereas if it's an and, an or clause, you got to do or last name equals. Okay. Next one. Write a query against the rental table that returns the IDs of the customers who rented a film on the 5th of July, 2005. So this is going to use a join, and it's going to look a lot like that query we saw on the slides, where you're going to do, you're going to join on customer ID, and you're going to pull out the customer ID, and then you're going to have a join on rental and customer on the customer ID, and you're going to have a where clause on the rental date column. That's this date. Okay. And it says the date function here. So let me go back here for a second and zip back here to this here. What that's saying is, so if I did, let me do this here. So if I do just this, this prefix here time and this prefix here date, and let me do this as well so you can see the whole gamut. All right. So rental date on its own is both time and date. If we want to isolate it down, we can use date to just get the date, or we can use time to just get the time. Okay. So your question here is, write a query against a rental table that returns the IDs of the customers who rented a film on July 5th, 2005, using the rental date column, and you can use the date to ignore the time component. Each single row, include a single row for each distinct customer ID. So we can go back to here, and we just changed, was it July 5th? Just do this here, and it's, the query is already there for you. So you just change that to the right date. And then we run it. Okay, and so we know everyone who's, we're not calling, I'm doing the customer name and last name, but this is the query. So that was provided for you in the slides, you just had to change the date. All right. Fill in the blanks denoted by the carets for this multiple table query. Select C email, r.return rate from customer interjoin rental. Customer ID equals that, where rental date equals 2005-6/14, ordered by 3 and 4. So here's the results. So you just got to figure out what goes in these spots. So like what goes here?
C? No, R.
R, correct, R. And what goes here?
It'll be r.customer ID.
Exactly. And what goes in 3 and 4 here?
Same as select.
Right, because if you look here, you'll see that it's actually in alphabetical order by emails. I went to double check to make sure it wasn't. It'd been tricky if they had done the date first and then the emails, but yeah, it's just email and return date. So you for the quiz, you take this, copy it out, and then replace the carets with the real answers. And that's your quiz. And that's pretty much everything this week. Are there any questions on this stuff?
I have a question, and I don't
Sure.
know if it's dumb or not, but whenever I try to put it in my database on Workbench, every single table doesn't have any data, it just says null. Was I supposed to upload data with it? Because even
For-
like for the
Yeah,
Sequela,
yeah, and I'm gonna post something tomorrow once I get it. A lot of people are having problem bringing the data into there. There was a command that you're supposed to run the command prompt to bring the data over.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and if that may have errored. If it did, I'm waiting for the lead of my department to send me that the fix for that.
Okay, cool,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
I've got no more questions. You pretty much
Sure.
answered them all. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, it says that we get 3 attempts for the exercises. If we think that we did something wrong, do we just do it again, or
Yep.
because it says they're hidden right now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And what I generally do is if I go through it and see you've made a mistake, I will tell you how to fix it, and then you can come back and fix it after. So if you
Okay.
can't figure out, if you can't get it to work, because ideally what you're doing is you're over here in the Workbench here, making the query, we're going to copy and paste it over. And if for some reason you can't get it and I'm not answering my texts or anything, just post it there and I'll give you a second chance to fix it.
Okay.
So, okay. And that's that. Moise, do you have any questions?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be it for. I'm gonna stick around and see if anyone pops in because I got another 45 minutes. But if you guys want to take off, but if you want to ask any question about these Wednesday nights, can be about anything. They don't have to do with the lesson. Like if you have just queries, like how does an index work, or how do backups work, or what's normalization, anything like that. This is the time to ask those questions, particularly like when the lesson is pretty quick like this. So if you have any questions like that, ask away. If you don't.
When using aggregate functions, do you have to put the aggregate function in the having? Does that make sense? Like when you're trying to decide what you put in the group by and the having?
Yes. So so group by is anything that's not aggregate. Having is whatever's aggregate and whatever condition you want to set on that aggregate, because you couldn't put that in the where clause. So like in this case here, let's go back. Let's get the one I was doing on here. Just back a little ways. Let's without having to write it again. Here we are. Okay. So here, I couldn't put, say, in the where clause to show me anything that has the same as 3 last names. So in the group by, it has to be whatever's not aggregated, and the having clause is whatever's being aggregated.
So since there's first name in there, would first name also need to be in group by or no?
Yeah, I went back too far before I added it there, but yeah, that's what it has to look like there.
Okay.
You're kind of like, see, in MySQL, it's a little weird, because if I took this and ran it in Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server and ran it like this, it would give me an error. Here, it just takes the count of last name and puts it with everything. And you notice there's 3 for Ackroyd, but only 1 first name here, Christian Ackroyd. Whereas if I put first name back there, like that, what did I do wrong? Oh, that's what I did wrong. Yeah. Let me get rid of this here. That's what the problem was. Okay. Okay. I think I broke something. I took all my multiple counts out. I don't know what I did there. Oh. Where's having clause here? Oh, I know what it is. Okay, that's what it is. So if I got rid of here like that, then it's going to come out right. Okay. No, it's not going to, yeah, so. Oh, because of this. Notice how like I'm getting all these, nothing's erroring out. So it's coming up, but this is completely the wrong answer. And this is broken because I put first name in the group by clause, but there's no first name here. So it's messing everything up. So you got to be careful when you're writing these queries, because this is the response that we're looking for. Okay, so I've got 3 Ackroyds, 3 Allens, 1 Astaire. If I put first name here again, and ran this, it's going to aggregate or Ackroyd like I want it to, but it's only going to give me the last entry of the first name that was there. It's not going to show me all 3. Okay, so it gives you messed up data. So you got to be careful. Like I said, in any other engine, this would error out, and the error would be like not an incomplete aggregate function. Okay, so when we're dealing with MySQL, we got to be careful because this looks right, because just because it gets results doesn't mean it's right. Okay, that was a long answer to a short question. Short answer is yes. This is where the aggregate goes. This is where everything else goes. Any other questions, thoughts? Any You interested in anything about SQL other than today's lesson? Anything on last week's lesson that we can go over? All right. Well, then in that case, I will leave you guys too. You can hang out. I'm just going to be staring at the screen for a while I'm doing some grading from last week. While I see if anyone else pops in. And I'm probably going to pause the recording at this point, so we don't just see. So I want to resume the share. I want to pause the